Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. 33 vicious and terrifying creatures of Skull Island franchise explored in detail. Beneath the surface of the Earth lies an intriguing place called the Hollow Earth. The ecosystem is lush with forests and jungles, but it hosts something even more intriguing. Superspecies the size of titans. Colossal apes, squids, spiders, and insects coexist with one another. The stronger ones prey on the weaker ones, but several weaker predators employ exemplary tactics to take down much stronger opponents. These massive unidentified terrestrial organisms, or M.U.T.O.s, are investigated by an organization called the Monarch. Mankind remained oblivious to the existence of Hollow Earth and Skull Island until 2014, when Godzilla emerged to fight two such titan-sized creatures. As the Skull Island franchise dives into the diverse world of creatures found in this place, several interesting monsters are introduced to the audience. Some are big, some are smaller, some carnivores, some omnivores, some have intelligence, some show emotions, as notably seen in our MVP King Kong himself. The MonsterVerse is diverse and brimming with exciting, terrifying, and lethal creatures. Humans haven't held excursions in Skull Island since 1973, but the Monarch has encountered several creatures during its excursion that is a goldmine worth of content. In this video, we list down 33 such creatures that are unique to Skull Island. Not just existing creatures, but we will also talk about dinosaurs that might have existed before, as noted from the skeletons found in the boneyard of the island. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Connictus. Connictus is a worm-like parasite from Skull Island, and its length varies from 7 to 13 feet. These carnivorous creatures feed on the wounded and dead. As parasites, they require hosts. Their ancestors lived in the guts of carnivore dinosaurs, where they consumed the flesh of the creatures swallowed by the dinosaurs. Neither do they have eyes, nor do they have a face. They move slowly, but can be lethal. They evolved into creatures that can exist outside of its hosts and shifted to the geothermal spring-fed sludge located in Skull Island. According to a theory, a predator similar to the V-Rex had fallen into the chasm long ago, which the Connictus fed upon. Doing so, they found themselves in an organic river found in the base of the pit. However, they thrived despite dying outside a host. They sustained on the flesh of animals that fell into those chasms, and with their newfound status as a non-parasitic creature, they grew to be over 7 feet in length. With their carnivorous nature, they went on to become the new predators in the abyss. Their length and numbers allow them to prey on bigger creatures and live prey such as the Vastatasaurus. They can drag creatures to the pit as well. The river that allows them to thrive has warm water, so cold water is their kryptonite as it sucks the life away from a Connictus. Another shortcoming for the predator is a famine of fresh meat. However, not all's lost, as they have a survival strategy to deal with such hard situations. Changing conditions prevent their eggs from hatching, but it doesn't kill the eggs either. As a result, the eggs survive in a dormant state and hatch once favorable conditions return to their chasms. Skull Islanders. Skull Island is full of terrifying creatures, but it has, or rather had, a human population as well, the Skull Islanders. A powerful wall used to separate the monstrous creatures of the island and the islanders. According to archaeological research, these islanders originated from Southeast Asia. The wall was studied, and its geography determined that the civilization was almost 3,000 years old. As the islanders settled into Skull Island, they brought and established their own culture, evident by the large statues that they carved made of ceramic. As people, they were artistic. It is believed that these settlers did not migrate by themselves and that the apes arrived with them. The reason why the Skull Islanders went extinct is unknown. Some believe that they were victims of a total annihilation almost 1,000 years ago. As the island reduced, so did their settlement. The monuments collapsed, leaving their habitat open to the creatures on the other side, who then began to cross over to the human territories. Gradually, the civilization disappeared and the city was almost destroyed. All that remained were fragments of its architecture.
Nobody move.
Scare buffalo. Scare buffaloes are a species of giant buffaloes, ranging from 38 feet to 45 feet in height. They are water buffaloes that inhabit Skull Island. However, they are not exactly the same. Some of the visible differences between water buffaloes and scare buffaloes are that the latter have huge horns that fork into around 3 branches. Their bodies are covered in algae, as they are creatures who reside underwater. They camouflage themselves from predators with their backs, which are made of coral. They share some similarities with the herbivores one sees in their real lives. The roars are more like bellows. Rather, scare buffaloes do not feed on flesh and are herbivores themselves. They aren't very aggressive in general and stay close to the water, but if you provoke or threaten them, they will turn extremely aggressive. Their DNA ties them up with Asian water buffaloes. They have amphibious grazing patterns and live in large lakes. Their outer bodies aren't their only parts that sustain external life in the form of algae. The heart of a scare buffalo also sustains flora and fauna. 2 of their heart chambers are dedicated to the lives of these plants and instead of blood, pump oxygenated chlorophyll to the fauna residing in and on the buffalo. They can remain submerged underwater for prolonged periods, often for days at a time. The coral on its back acts as the perfect camouflage. If they charge at anything, they use their deadly horns to attack. Arachnoclaw. The worst nightmare for those with arachnophobia. These are spider-like arthropods that are around 4 to 6 feet long. They are predators living on Skull Island in abyssal chasms. Their habitat is generally devoid of sunlight. Considering the fact that there aren't a lot of life forms that thrive in those chasms, Arachnoclaws are scavengers that feed on carrion, which are acquirable from the edges of the pits. They are carnivorous creatures, but not exactly hunters, so they aren't too pumped on hunting for prey for a good night's meal. However, they aren't averted to that either. When carrion falls into their domain, they immediately sense it with their antennae and proceed to scavenge on it. Other than that, they have a pair of crab-like claws under their mouths which are useful for ripping the prey apart. They also have 6 legs for locomotive purposes. Their life cycle is interesting. The parent Arachnoclaws lay microscopic eggs in the carrion. As other scavengers feed on the carrion as well, most of the baby Arachnoclaws are killed. Some of the eggs drown in the muddy water and collect at the bottom of the pit like a sediment. If lucky, a mature Connictus will ingest an Arachnoclaw egg. Tables turn when ex-parasites become host to newer forms of parasites as the Arachnoclaws live in the guts of the Connictus for a few years. After maturing, they take 2 strange routes out, either through the anus of the host or by eating the Connictus inside out. Then they join the other Arachnoclaws residing in the abyss. When they hunt, they don't charge straight ahead and instead opt to ambush the prey, allowing them to overpower creatures who are otherwise stronger. Their appearance is weird, with the giant trapdoor-like body. Dicarnocemex. These Ensiferum are large and carnivorous. Similar to the Arachnoclaws and Connictus, they live in the chasms of Skull Island. They are scavengers who feed on the corpses of victims that fall into the pit. They are within 5 to 10 feet long. They have some biological relation to crickets, but the Dicarnocemex, being dangerous creatures, have bladed forelegs. These forelegs are ideal for shredding the carcass of the prey. They can be aggressive hunters as well, especially when their opponent is smaller. They use their strength to carve those creatures with their claws. Megaprimus Kong, the first gorilla on our list, finally. This gigantic and rare gorilla is an exciting creature from Skull Island. There is a supposed connection between humans and Kong's ancestors. As you may already know, humans have evolved from apes, so that's what has been fictionally referred to here. The Megaprimus Kong is a great ape which is around 18 feet to 25 feet tall, setting harsh body image standards for men in Hollywood. They live at the very center of the Skull Island in their lair, which is suspended high up. Kong was the lord of his tribe and used his habitat to survey the island. Kong was also larger and stronger than almost every other species in the island and a huge threat to the Skull Islanders, who were mere humans. During his time, Kong became iconic. After the discovery of the species, Kong was declared to be the sole survivor, and he had been one for a long time. The prolonged loneliness affected the great ape emotionally, as he had to shoulder all responsibilities by himself, with no one to go to due to the demise of his species. When the species did thrive, they lived in small units as families, generally in the jungles due to the abundance of food. But Kong himself comes from the mountainous uplands. In Kong's species, the adults were responsible for protecting the younger apes from predators, just like any other being in the animal kingdom or even humans. They'd help the younger ones find food. The males of the species could go toe-to-toe with the strongest carnivores residing in Skull Island, and they possessed dexterity as well. The biggest advantage the apes had over other creatures was definitely their intelligence, as they were capable of using strategies against stronger opponents. And with high intelligence comes an ability to form bonds. The apes could form emotional connections and used communicative skills. This emotional nature is responsible for Kong feeling lonely as the sole survivor.
Oh, shit.
Skullcrawler. Skullcrawlers are large reptiles that are two-legged. They are super dangerous apex predators of the island and responsible for the near extinction of Kong's species. They have no hind limbs, but being reptiles, they possess prehensile tails. Their bodies are slender and muscular at the same time, and their appearance quite skeletal, especially with the skull-like eye sockets on their heads. However, those sockets are just empty fenestrae, and their eyes are actually located much further back. The fenestrae are useful for distracting enemies while protecting their more vulnerable eyes. Their scales can be quite colorful, ranging from dark green to dark brown. They run fast despite having only 2 legs, surpassing humans. This feat allows them to take quick, sharp turns as well. The skullcrawlers are lethal in battle, as noted from the fact that they almost eradicated Kong's species. They use their razor-sharp teeth as weapons against opponents. They are also incredibly resilient, as they can withstand it when apes hit them with enormous blows and pummel them on the ground. Their prehensile serpentine tails are used to swat opponents. Being long, it can also wrap the opponent and gives the skullcrawlers an edge in combat. Their tails alone possess enormous power, as noted from the time when Kong was lifted easily by the alpha skullcrawler and thrown across the lake. The tail-wrapping feat also aids in balance. Leafwing. These avian reptile monsters have appeared time and again in the franchise and are called leafwings, as they possess wings that look like leaves. Its design is simpler than many other creatures, with rostrum-like horns on the foreheads. These horns are covered in spines. As the wings are like leaves, they are naturally green in color and serve as an excellent camouflaging weapon in the jungles, especially when in groups. Their heads and the back of their bodies sport a yellow stain, while their bodies are brown. Special leaf wings appeared in Godzilla vs. Kong, where their body stains were green and red instead of yellow. They are cousins of psycho-vultures, but leaf wings are a lot less aggressive. However, these omnivorous and airborne creatures are still quite dangerous. Spore Mantis. This is a giant insect in the island that functions as a parasite. Tree barks form a part of the epidermis of the mantis, which is the outer layer of the skin. The limbs and body are like fallen trees. However, beneath the epidermis lies a slug. This slug has powerful bone-crushing jaws, making for a vicious parasite. The tree-like body is excellent for camouflaging in the jungle. Once their prey appears in sight within the right attacking distance, the mantis leaves its camouflaged spot and attacks aggressively. If something suddenly sits or stands on their backs, the spore mantis gets startled and combative. It's the size of a fully grown redwood tree, but at the end of the day, it is a stick insect. With its appendages, it gets the freedom to use alarming speed while attacking. Once it consumes its prey, the mantis's digestive system uses a sap-like protein to digest it by encasing the creature inside. It then excretes it out, and if you want some light to be shed upon some more gross information, its excretions are covered in crystalline material, making it transparent. That way you can see what the spore mantis has excreted out of its system. The large log-like bodies allow for great endurance in the spore mantis. The skin is thick enough to repel bullets, but not thick enough to be useful against skull crawlers. However, they are smart and will not engage predators that can easily overpower them in combat. As a result, their prey is often smaller than them, and they know how to prioritize their own survival. Mother longlegs. A wordplay on the term daddy longlegs. Mother longlegs are bamboo spiders that are gigantic arachnids and predators in the Skull Island. The species is strictly female, which is evident by the mother in its name. They are 5 to 7 meters tall, with long legs resembling bamboo stalks. Similar to several other predators in the list and the island, these legs can help them camouflage with their surroundings in the jungle. Their upper bodies act like canopies, as the legs are long enough to give the arachnids substantial elevation. They prey by ambushing unsuspecting creatures. Maya squid. These gigantic squids are around 27 to 33 meters in length and thrive in the salt waters of Skull Island. Their preying technique is simple. They ambush the prey in the lakes. First, they wait for the prey to get close to them. Then they move with complete stealth to avoid being spotted, be it by the prey or any other predator. Then, when the prey is close and unsuspecting of the looming danger ahead, they attack. Their body is completely red in color and it has a bulbous head, similar to that of an octopus. Their defenses aren't strong, so they display dymatic behavior on being threatened. Like octopi release their black tar during such situations, Maya squids expel black ink from their mantle chambers as well. This ink is also heated, so it boils the enemy trying to attack the squid. Their jaws are like beaks and can rotate like the blades of a fan. They use this fan-like feature to create whirlpools or a vortex-like water current which sucks the prey towards itself and ultimately lands up in the squid's mouth. The tentacles are long and incredibly flexible, capable of wrapping itself lethally around other creatures. As creatures that can survive even after taking multiple hits from great apes, their endurance is top-notch. Maya squids are classified as megalopods and are considered to be related to the Great Pacific Octopus. However, the Maya squid displays some very evident evolutionary changes and mutations over its octopi cousins. The reason for its gigantism is not yet known, but as per the Monarch report, some people believe that the geothermal gigantism can be attributed to it being a creature on the Skull Island. Skull Island deer. A species of predatory deer found on Skull Island. Skull Island deer have brown fur that are spotted with white all over, similar to several other deer. Male Skull Island deer sport antlers. They exhibit behavior similar to other species of deer as they live in herds, have a plant-based diet, and are extremely alert to whatever can be dangerous for the species. They run fast and are extremely agile, which allows them to evade explosions of seismic charges, as seen from the scene where they evaded the explosion caused by the Monarch expedition team. In fact, they are an intelligent species that can determine whether there is any looming danger or not based on these seismic charges alone. This helps them avoid larger predators on Skull Island that they probably can't run away from despite being super fast runners. Warbat. These subterranean apex predatory creatures are giant, monstrous dijaku that can fly and have a serpentine and bat-like presence and appearance to them. They are extremely aggressive in nature. Their bodies possess a greyish color and its wings are large and membranous. It runs down the upper portion of its body and the bones from its ribs extend to support these wings that give it a bat-like appearance. Its lower body takes on a serpentine form with its long and slender appearance. It's assumed that warbats evolved their serpentine torso as the terrain of the Hollow Earth can be quite treacherous. They also have ventral scales like snakes and resemble a cobra. The fangs of a warbat that protrude from its snake-like head are enormous. Their mouth is filled with teeth that can cut like needles. Their eyes are green, and this is where a difference lies between snakes and warbats, barring the wings. Instead of vertical pupil slits, warbats sport horizontal pupil slits that are almost catty. They roam around the rainforests of Hollow Earth and are extremely aggressive. They use their serpentine lower bodies to wrap themselves around the prey, which constricts them to death. Sometimes they use their wings as a weapon to smother and suffocate the prey. When hunting, they prefer to do so in pairs or packs, rather than by themselves, unlike snakes in real life. They are good at cooperating with one another. The origins of warbats remain unknown as of now. All that is known or presumed is that they are likely to have evolved in Hollow Earth itself, and with the present energy of the place that turns creatures gigantic, warbats grew in size as well, thanks to the ecosystem. Hollow Earth Arachnid. These are gigantic arachnids found in the biosphere of Hollow Earth, below Antarctica. Not much is known about it as of now, and fans hope for the franchise to expand on these intriguing creatures. When two HEAVs and Kong were passing by, a group of Hollow Earth arachnids who were present evaded the scene immediately as a bigger predator was at play here, the Hollow Earth lizard. One of the arachnids was eaten by the lizard. They scattered into different locations as Kong ran. When the Hollow Earth arachnids prey, they drink blood from animals who are asleep, like parasites. Hollow Earth Lizard. These enormous reptilian monsters are subterranean predatory reptiles. They are greyish-black in color, which allows them to brilliantly blend in with the surrounding environment. Their backs and shoulders are covered by rows of spikes, and it is an effective defense that protects the lizard against other predators thriving in Hollow Earth. Their jaws are filled with sharp and large teeth, and their eyes possess stereoscopic or binocular vision, like several other predators of today's age and time. They also have a bony ridge above their eye sockets like crocodiles. They roam around the rocky plains and prey on specific species, namely the rock critters. They prefer ambushing their prey while hunting. Their ability to blend in with the environment aids them while doing so, and they know how to take advantage of a situation when it comes to hunting. They work smart. These creatures evolved within the terrains of Hollow Earth and grew to be gigantic in size due to the energy present. An art book classified it as an offshoot species of the Titanus gojira due to the jagged dorsal plates of the creature. Hellhawk. These kaijus are large birds with large wings that are found in Hollow Earth and look like hawks. They also bear some uncanny resemblance with bats due to their talons, vulture-like heads and leathery wings. Their backs are armored with feathers that look like hairs, but when they're not in flight, they take on a posture similar to that of birds as they fold their wings around their bodies and tuck them into either side. Their screeches pierce like vultures. These creatures are violent predators that live in caverns. They get agitated very easily and are likely to attack the prey very relentlessly. Once they capture the prey, they are extremely protective over it because their habitat is not one that is brimming with food. Hellhawks have gotten into aggressive fights with one another due to this. Like bats, they hang upside down from the ceilings of their dark caverns. They use their leathery wings to take flight, and they do so with high speed. Their maneuverability is impeccable as well. When in combat, they utilize their talons and beaks as weapons, and it is efficient enough to carry human prey effortlessly. The talons are efficient at digging into walls. King Kong. King Kong is the protagonist of the MonsterVerse franchise, alongside Godzilla. He is a powerful but sympathetic creature, often portrayed as an anti-hero. Despite being a predatory creature, King Kong has shown elements of humanity throughout. He belongs to a superspecies of apes that shares a common ancestry with modern-day apes, but took on a titan-like size due to the ecosystem of Hollow Earth. It is known for its humanoid appearance. Kong is portrayed with orange-brown fur, a huge brow, a small crown, a wide-eyed roar, and an over-exaggerated muzzle. It was a whopping 104 feet in height, designed to make humans look like a speck beside the titan ape. Kong's posture is upright, departing from the hunched-over posture sported by gorillas of his species or silverback gorillas in general. His arms are also way larger than his legs. The reason for his character was to create a divide between the audience, causing some to view him as a savior, others to view him as a threat, while some also viewed him as a god. His rounded head has several scars, noting his battle experience. His physique is muscular with large biceps and defined abs. In terms of personality, King Kong is peaceful and gentle, but when provoked, he's fierce in battle. He guards Skull Island, protects the wildlife there, and even befriends humans who infiltrate the jungle. He protects his allies with his might and does not shy away from endangering himself. He also possesses remarkable intelligence and goes on to learn sign language eventually. He is partly carnivorous, as seen when he feeds on warbats, Maya squids, or even fishes. Vastatasaurus Rex is a theropod dinosaur that used to be found in Skull Island. As a species, they are extremely large. They used to be the largest terrestrial predators on the island and had descended from the Tyrannosaurus Rex. They were 40 to 50 feet long and approximately 20 feet tall at the hip itself. It was bigger and heavier than its ancestor T-Rex as a creature that had evolved. However, do not let the size fool you, as Vastatasaurus Rex possessed fast-moving feet that generally worked in bursts. They could go as fast as 20 to 25 meters per hour over short distances. If the Tyrannosaurus Rex had the opportunity to evolve over the 65 million years following the Cretaceous period, the end result is what the Vastatasaurus Rex has been modeled upon. Factors such as an abundance of large prey, a stagnant environment in Skull Island, warmth and humidity come into play as the consideration is made. Similar to T-Rexes, no other predators could compete with the Vastatasaurus. They had abnormal amounts of strength due to its large size. They could go toe-to-toe with King Kong in battle. Their frame also helped in the dinosaur being super durable and shaking King Kong's punches without much effort. They could survive lethal falls from heights and seem to have limitless stamina. They could last for long durations when fighting an adult Megaprimus Kong. Kongweta Rex. These gigantic creatures are distant relatives of the M.U.T.O.s of New Zealand. They are 2 to 3 feet in length. This doesn't sound too big compared to the other creatures on the list, but the Kongweta Rex is a species of prehistoric crickets. As a result, they outclass and outsize regular crickets easily. They are hunting predators that are ferocious opponents. They live in the chasms and caves of Skull Island and swarm in huge numbers. They mob their prey as they hunt and overwhelm them with ease. Their great number allows them to wear down large dinosaurs with their shearing mouths as well. Abyssidus. These killer crabs of the abyss are as big as dogs and live in the shadows of larger predators. This secondary position results in them being scavengers instead of hunters. They would consume any organic matter. They live in loose colonies in deep caves and pits, and their hatching numbers are enormous. They migrate to darker domains using the river bodies and find unclaimed caves, where they can mature and form a new colony. Diplector. Similar to the Abyssidus, Diplectors are giant arachnids as well. They live in the crevices in the walls of the insect pit. They hunt by anchoring themselves to their designated spots and then snatch flying creatures from air using their claws. They detect the prey with their antennae and then snatch them using their 6-foot-long claws. The males weren't that big in size, but the female Diplectors often grew to be 8 feet in length. Due to its smaller stature, the males would dwell in the backs of the female Diplector's cavern. Their job was to fertilize the eggs, and they would feed on the scraps left from whatever the female had preyed upon. They are blind as they don't have eyes, but their antennae make up for it by detecting the vibrations in the air. They fold their pincers in a style resembling that of the praying mantis as they wait for their prey to present themselves. They often prey on vulturesaurs. These are creatures that fly in flocks at night through the chasms. When they lunge, they use their entire body weight in the attack. Their abdomens excrete elastic materials that can be used to tether their bodies to rocks and prevent the Diplectors from falling. They can also swing freely with this feature. The female Diplector lays several hundred eggs at once. These exhibit enormous sexual dimorphism, more than any other creature in the Skull Island. Unlike the females, the males are defenseless and rely on the female Diplectors for safety. Udgiosaur. Udgiosaurs, or swamp crawlers, are gigantic reptilian creatures. Its length ranges from 4 to 6 feet. They belong to the same family as the Terrestrial. As aquatic reptiles, Udgiosaurs are compact. Their head is bullet-like and they are predatory carnivores. They live in the rivers of Skull Island and hunt in packs of generally 6 Udgiosaurs. Despite being aquatic, they don't respire using gills and instead are air breathers. They dive underwater for 3 minutes where they herd and prey on smaller fish by cornering them and then come up to breathe. During the hunt, individual Udgiosaurs surge into the cluster by taking turns and grab mouthfuls of their prey. Pteranodon. These fish-like creatures dwell in the rivers of Skull Island. They take the prey from the banks of the river as they come down to drink water. Similar to the Diplectors, the male Pteranodons are much smaller than their female counterparts. The males compete with one another to prove themselves worthy of mating with a female Pteranodon. These creatures are born in groups as 5-feet-long baby Pteranodons. Even as juveniles, they are lethal aquatic predators and can overpower fishes, amphibians, smaller dinosaurs, water birds, and several other creatures with ease. Larger terrestrial animals are not too out of pocket for them as well. They hunt by ambushing their prey as they wait for it to appear near the riverbank. Then, with the help of its sensitive barbels, they detect the prey approaching. Their eyes cannot differentiate between light and dark, but their senses are more than enough to make up for this shortcoming. It then surges its giant body as it lunges out of the water. It captures the prey with its sharp jaws and either takes a massive bite or drags it down below the surface. Their lunging abilities are noteworthy, and combined with its strong pectoral fins, Pteranodons can beach themselves on river banks. As birds, lizards, and other creatures flock to them, the Pteranodons pick them clean for their meals. However, heat and dryness can result in them having to return to their aquatic habitat. Despite being the largest hunting predator of the rivers of Skull Island, Pteranodons have to stay on red alert as the Vastatasaurus Rex can be harmful to them. These fish are 50 feet long and weigh around 14 tons. Their bodies are muscular and they have a greenish-black appearance up top while being white below. Their teeth are pointed and sharp, each of them as big as the forearm of an adult human. Pterapus mordax. These are ginormous bat-like rodents that are one of the biggest flying mammals of Skull Island. They belong to the family of Voloceratidae, which is a flying rodent residing in Skull Island. They sport the appearance of bats and pterosaurs. Their body is 3 to 4 feet in length, but their wingspan is over twice that size, ranging from 8 to 10 feet. However, it is not just carnivorous, so it will also feed on fruits and nuts. Smaller relatives of the species can become prey for the Pteropus mordax and are generally caught at dusk. Similar to the naked mole rat, the Pteropus mordax is completely hairless and has translucent skin. The bones are strong for its size. When it comes to abilities, the Pteropus mordax is highly agile in flight, being able to keep up with smaller birds and flying rats that can fly at high speed due to being smaller in size. They live in caverns in huge numbers. The elder females rule the species. Meanwhile, the males live in colonies and often fight each other to death. They have a terrible stink that puts skunks to shame. However, their smell keeps predators away, as not many want to approach a creature that reeks of such pungent odor. Moon spider. As we can already see, Skull Island is inhabited by several species of arachnids, and the moon spider is one of them. They're not too big though. They tend to be 6 to 8 inches in length. In the movie, they are seen when they retreat, as Kong fights the Vastatasaurus and when Anne tries to escape Kong. Due to their smaller stature, moon spiders are likely to find themselves in tough situations, especially at night. But they are not to be messed with, as their jaws are unrivaled by several other creatures. They have 10 legs, which they use on its prey, crushing them with strength and paralyzing them with venom. Creatures such as lizards, rodents, ground birds, and dinosaur chicks often fell victim to the moon spiders. If one such arachnid was to bite a mature dinosaur, the larger apex predator of Skull Island would find itself in grave discomfort. However, moon spiders choose to hunt at night to avoid larger hunters. They've developed a smart trick. Moon spiders wait near dinosaur nests. As the young ones hatch, they prey on the baby dinosaurs that are incapable of defending themselves. They use the faint smell of egg matter to detect when a dinosaur egg nears the early stage of hatching. Swamp wing. Swamp wings are bat-like frogs with wings that allow them to fly. Their wingspan ranges from 4 to 8 inches, and they live in the swamps of Skull Island. These creatures are bizarre. Several such frogs have evolved large membranes along their forearms to formulate these wings to avoid being preyed upon by stronger predators. Their hind legs are generally small, while the forelimbs are bigger. However, their jumping abilities aren't nearly as good. Several swamp wings have an appearance that resembles tadpoles. They don't have teeth, but what they do have are sharpened serrations. These serrations are needle-like and protrude through the gums of the swamp thing. No other creature in Skull Island shares this feature. Despite having wings, they're not great flyers, and their aerial prowess is limited to covering short distances. Their glide lacks control, and they often have flapping fits. However, it helps them enough to get away from predators no matter where they are being attacked from. Once a swamp wing matures, they tend to avoid swimming as much as they can, as they become easy prey for bony fishes underwater. Reptiles attack them as well, and the wings hinder their swimming abilities. If there's something they are good at, it's climbing. They have gripping pads on their bodies with which they can be agile climbers. They eat floating vegetation or wet-rooted trees and don't hunt unless they're feeding on small invertebrates living on the ground. These creatures lay eggs in clusters, generally hundreds at a time. Their designated spot for hatching is amongst the reeds or water reeds, as these spots help avoid attention from larger predators. The eggs hatch into tadpoles that are born as hunters that go after smaller insects and invertebrates. Once the tadpoles are 7 weeks old, their legs begin to spur out. As they grow for 12 entire weeks, their tadpole-like tails shrink in size and eyes begin to bulge like frogs. They almost become adults in 3 more weeks, and they leave water even though they haven't developed proper wings yet. Simian raticus. Simian raticus are rat monkeys or devil monkeys that dwell in Skull Island. These monkeys look more like rats and have wide, black eyes. Like rodents, they have 2 long buck front teeth. The body of a simian raticus is almost hairless, which exposes its brownish-grey skin underneath. Their fingers act like claws, and they're surprisingly extremely strong. They live in trenches where they prey and feed on giant arachnids. Scorpio Peed. Combine a centipede and scorpion and you get a Scorpio Peed. They are 2 to 3 feet in length and look quite a bit like scorpions, but they are not arachnids. They are remarkable creatures that develop in isolation. They specialize in several biological traits as well. They are categorized under the Skull Island Neopedes. They're not extremely large in size, but what they lack in size, they make up for in numbers. They are invertebrates and they thrive in water bodies provided there are enough crops and algae for consumption, with algae being their favorite choice of food. Scorpio Peeds are predatory swimmers since their time as larvae. However, they live in the waterline as they mature, grazing algae from tree trunks and logs using their sharp teeth. Their legs are specialized as well, allowing them to graze perfectly. Scorpio Peeds are territorial and don't like other creatures trespassing their personal space or immediate surroundings. When one does so, the Scorpio Peed arches its back to use its venomous tail against the trespasser. The tail resembles the hood of a cobra and has tail prongs. It can jab through hides and possesses a lethal poisonous quality to it. If the opponent is large, the poison causes the creature to undergo severe discomfort, but if it is small, it's a sure shot kill. The poison is quite fast-acting, and as a result, the creatures are aware of this feat and don't cross the surroundings of Scorpio Peeds. The creatures lay eggs under branches or water vegetation. Kunai Predator. This stocky crab-like creature lives in several places: the water, inland water bodies, and coastal cliffs. A native of Skull Island, Kunai Predators aren't as big as the video game for the franchise makes them out to be. They are short-tempered. They rush sideways and snap at nearby humans in the game. Giant Kunai Predators can endure 40 rounds from a pistol, whereas the usual size will succumb after 8 machine gun rounds. Spear attacks are risky for these creatures, similar to other neopedes. They monitor the eggs they lay, and the mother keeps it secured in the undersides of its body, as the eggs do not need to be deposited in the ocean. They then live in the nests of seabirds, feeding on the leftovers of the birds or dead birds themselves. Once they're old enough, they move out of the nests and group with the adults of their species. Photocutis cerastes. This is a centrosaurine ceratopsid dinosaur species which is not as big as the Vastatasaurus Rex. It is 24 to 34 feet long. They are herbivorous dinosaurs but are extremely mighty. They dwell in herds and are found in groups more often than not. Each herd consists of 12 such dinosaurs. Their build is heavy and they use their massive shoulders to graze their food. They have frills and spikes like Triceratops. Carnivores consider them to be dangerous prey. The creatures have an aggressive and fearsome demeanor, but their diet consists of shrubbery, so other creatures don't have to fear them. They are strong enough to uproot tall cycads so that they can have the fruit from the plant. The herds of Photocutis cerastes are territorial and extremely defensive. They claim small areas to defend. They lay their eggs and raise the young in this very area, allowing them to grow in a safe environment. The younger creatures join the herd relatively soon after hatching, after which they're protected by the older ones from predators such as pugbats and the Lycosaurus. The males lead the herd and are always ready to fight off anyone who threatens his herd or even his rule. As predators try to attack them, the females of the herd circle around the younger ones and protect them. They create a wall with their horns facing outwards, while their bony shields make excellent defenses. Then, the dominant male of the herd executes the attack. It uses the armament on its head to attack. Their bodies are rhino-like with a horn, are short and thick-tailed, and have a bony shield encompassing their head and shoulders. Photodon. These creatures are reptilian crocodilian beings found in the forests of Skull Island. They are 15 to 20 feet long and use ambush as their hunting strategy. Its body is giant and broad. These jungle predators are often scavengers that have adapted themselves to living on the forest floors. They have short snouts and scutes along the back. They possess bone-crushing strength and are extremely territorial in nature, ready to plow down anyone in a confrontation. They are often found near game trails and will take whatever is offered. They eat carrion, dig into leaf litter, search for invertebrates to feed on, and live in lakes when younger, before ultimately relocating to the jungles once grown. They have motivations similar to that of any animal. It often abandons its meal if it sees a fresher meat nearby, and will chase after it. They scrape out hollows and burrow into mounds to hide themselves, waiting for prey to appear. Once the prey comes nearby, the Photodon lunges at it with a bone-crushing bite and consumes its new meal. The hide is thick and acts as armor. It detects the prey using its strong olfactory senses. It also recognizes when the prey is wounded with its keen sense of smell. They often are about 20 feet in length and have greyish skin. Their faces are covered in blisters which they acquire as they get infected from burrowing into leaf litters. It uses its mouth, tail and claws as its primary weapon, and its bite can spread its disease acquired from infection. Brutornis. This creature is tall and pale in color. It is a forest hassid found in the lowland plains of Skull Island and is 6 to 7 feet tall till the hip. They are avian carnivores, the largest on the island. They are excellent hunters and prey on creatures in open shrublands. They have a keen sight that can detect the tiniest movements of possible prey hiding in the grasses. Their muscles are powerful and can help them take terrible bites, ripping off chunks of flesh from its prey. They reside in the grassy areas of the island. Their eggs remain concealed, but the parent prefers an open ground as the habitat so that it can overlook the area and detect potential threats. Compact and surrounded areas are susceptible to predators that hunt by ambushing its prey. The mothers are vigilant when it comes to protecting the eggs, and once those eggs hatch, they follow the mother at first. Once they are old enough to hunt, they fend for themselves. Venatosaurus. Venatosauruses were hunter lizards who descended from non-avian dinosaurs. They were 16 to 24 feet long, but quite lightweight for their size. They thrived on the highlands of Skull Island. As predators, they were super efficient, able to prey on creatures 10 times bigger than them. They had mobile hips that made them agile and flexible, much more so than their ancestors. However, it sacrificed their running speed. Their hip joints allowed them to crouch down when cover was required. Their eyes were set high, allowing them to peer over their heads as they hid themselves via crouching. They could even see in dim light, like cats. They had short and deep rib cages. Even though it resulted in greater flexibility, it also decreased their lung capacity. However, their superior muscle attachment could hold on to prey. As you may have already guessed from their hunt style, they adopted an ambush strategy to prey. They knew how to use the Skull Island terrain to their advantage and would often chase the prey over low cliffs and canyons, capturing them in dead ends. After the Vastatasaurus Rex, the Venatosauruses were the best predators in Skull Island and the most dangerous. They were mean, killing machines. As creatures, they were social and intelligent, living in packs of half a dozen to a dozen Venatosauruses. They lived in the jungles and used the thick forests for cover. Their nests were made from roots dug out of trees. When they hunted, guards would remain behind, watching over the nest and the younger ones. What did you think of these creatures? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on the video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.